Well, the Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Kate, are visiting the Queen's Sandringham estate in Norfolk to view all the floral tributes left outside the Norwich Gates in her memory of Her Majesty The Queen. Today's visit is the first time that the couple has visited Sandringham since the Queen's death. And these are just live images of the Prince and Princess of Wales right now. You can see from the images that it's a large floral tribute on the ground there, and by the looks of it, hundreds of people gathered behind that barricade, snapping photos of the royals as they pay tribute to all the things that are being left for Queen Elizabeth II. So let's bring in CTV News' royal commentator, Afia Hagen, to chat more about this. Afia, you know, everyone's trying to catch a glimpse of the royals these days in light of the Queen's death. Can you talk about this estate and why it's so significant?
Absolutely. So you're seeing the new Prince and Princess of Wales inspecting the floral tributes at Sandringham today. And Sandringham is where the royals famously had Christmas. And who was going to be on the guest list was always a big deal in the weeks leading up to Christmas. It was another one of the Queen's favourite places. It's this huge estate and very much become a focal point for people, as you can see here. But Sandringham definitely is the place where the royals would gather for Christmas. They would go to church near Sandringham over Christmas as well. So of course they were very known in the area and in the local community and in the church community as well. And today what you're seeing is different royals carrying out different engagements, actually. You have Prince Charles is currently at Clarence House, where he's receiving red boxes, perhaps having a bit of a break, but he is getting on with the business of government. You've got the Earl and Countess of Wessex, they're in Manchester at the moment, where they are greeting crowds, accepting condolences, and they will light a candle later on. And of course, as you're seeing here, the new Prince and Princess of Wales at Sandringham.
Yeah, and Afia, can you give us a perspective of how far Sandringham is from London?
It's not too far from London. It's about an hour or two outside London, sort of a similar distance to Windsor. So not too far from the capital, and it wouldn't have taken them too long to get there this morning. Clarence House, where King Charles III is in Gloucester, so a bit more private and a bit more in the country. Sorry, Highgrove, where he is in Gloucester and a bit more in the country. That's where he is this morning, not Clarence House. He's at Highgrove.
He's at Highgrove, yes, at his house there. And Afia, do we have any idea where the other royals are today in terms of Prince Harry and Meghan, perhaps, and the Queen's other children, Prince Edward, Andrew, Princess Anne?
Well, it's Prince Harry's birthday today, so it's thought that Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, are celebrating privately. Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, Prince Andrew are currently, I guess, taking a break, as it were. The Princess Royal has accompanied her mother's body since her death and was with her in the last 24 hours of her life. So she has had a very, very intense 8 days or so. So she's perhaps taking a moment to reflect, to have a moment of private grief before the funeral on Monday. Like I said, the Earl and Countess of Wessex are in Manchester, so that's where Prince Edward is with his wife Sophie, and Prince Andrew perhaps taking a private moment today as well.
Right, and Afia, I'm not sure if you have any insight into this. Let's turn to the Queen's state funeral on Monday. Can we expect any members of the royal family to speak at that event?
We're not sure yet. So we're actually currently expecting around lunchtime, around now actually UK time, more details of what's going to happen at the Queen's funeral. It's only going to be an hour-long service. It will be conducted by the Archbishop of Canterbury. Perhaps we will hear King Charles III speak at that funeral, perhaps Prince William, perhaps Prince Harry. We are not sure yet, but we are waiting for that communique. As I said, we should get it within the next hour or two. They told us around lunchtime, and we'll have more details of the state funeral on Monday.
And Afia, we know that everything has been planned to a T. Everything's been choreographed in advance. Is there any indication at this point whether or not people, you know, watching on television the state funeral will get a chance to actually see the Queen? Will it be an open coffin?
We don't think it will be an open casket. No, we think it will remain, excuse me, a closed casket. Of course, there will be another procession, a shorter one, but there will be another procession. More people perhaps will get the chance to see the casket moving again. We have just had an update actually on Princess Anne. She is actually going to be in Glasgow today, viewing floral tributes that have been left for her mother, and she'll be accompanied by her husband, Sir Tim Lawrence, and will head to Glasgow City Chambers. So the royals are definitely keeping busy this week. I think it's quite significant, actually, that they're in different parts of the country, that the Princess Royal has gone back to Scotland, because everything that happens at Holyrood and Edinburgh was really significant. Scotland is a very important part of the Union. The Princess Royal does have an affinity with Scotland, so I think there's a definite sense of trying to keep Scotland in the picture as well as other parts of the country. That's why we're seeing the Earl and Countess of Wessex and Manchester as well today.
And once again, just to give our viewers a sense of the live pictures that we're looking at, crowds waiting outside of Sandringham House, getting a glimpse of the Prince of Wales and the Princess of Wales as they look at all the tributes that have been laid outside the Norfolk Gates there, and really speaking and shaking hands with members of the community. Afia, you have told us where the other royals will be, but I want to go back to yesterday because we saw that procession of her coffin into Westminster Hall, and there was definitely a moment of silence. The mood was very somber, but as the coffin arrived there was, I'm not sure if you heard it or saw, there was a clap. People were clapping, and that's very unusual in the tradition of people in Britain to do something like that. So do you think that just shows the emotion that's been bottling up inside of people?
Absolutely. I mean, we practically had a front row seat, so to speak, yesterday when we were doing our live special from Buckingham Palace. So we saw the marching bands go past us. The beat of that drum, I think, is something that will stay with me for a while. We saw the procession go past with the Queen's casket. It was very, very somber. And as it left the Mall and proceeded to go up the Mall, accompanied by the horses and the military and everything, you're right, there was this spontaneous round of applause, a very respectful round of applause. And before that moment, it had been deathly silent. You could not hear a pin drop outside Buckingham Palace. It seemed like not even the birds were tweeting either. It was completely silent, completely reverent. And I think actually as the casket went past and the whole procession went past, it was a sense of relief. I think a lot of people exhaled. And with that came the round of applause, the very polite, not raucous in any way, but very respectful round of applause. And I think, like you said, a lot of people have been bottling up those emotions. A lot of people had waited with bated breath for Her Majesty to go past them. A lot of people felt that she was on her final journey. So that round of applause, yes, certainly, and broke out when the casket went past, definitely. And there was spatterings of applause later when we saw the royals heading back to Buckingham Palace also.
And Afia, once again, we're looking at images of the Prince and Princess of Wales shaking hands with people waiting outside of Sandringham House, you know, shaking their hands across those barricades. And what strikes me is people look happy, and the Prince and Princess, they are smiling, they are greeting these people. Is that kind of in their royal duty to kind of suppress whatever grief they might be feeling and present this image of happiness, of gaiety to the public at this time?
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's their royal duty to keep calm and carry on and have a smile on their face. But I also do think that, you know, these conversations with the people in the crowd are some sort of, they're consoling them, accepting people's condolences, having conversations with people about their love for the Queen, you know, on both sides, I think helps everybody who's in that conversation. The relatives of the Queen can take away lovely stories that so many people have of what the Queen meant to them, of potentially meeting the Queen. And I think, you know, people are really appreciative that the royals have taken this time to interact with them and have those conversations. And I think the royals in turn are very appreciative that so many people have turned out to console them, to wait for them, to see them, to have these conversations with them. So I think that definitely in these conversations, both sides are getting some sort of comfort. And definitely, people love remembering loved ones, don't you? You love talking about them with a smile. And I think that's what's happening here with William and Kate, with the Earl and Countess of Wessex as well. Definitely all those conversations with Princess Anne, the Princess Royal later on as well. Those conversations will really help the royals through this difficult time. It's a very different atmosphere at Westminster Hall, where people are very somber, going past the Queen's coffin. People are filing past right now. The queue at the moment is about 5 hours long, which isn't as bad as some people anticipated, I think.
And Fia, I'm kind of struck by the large number of people who have gathered outside of Sandringham House. Presumably, we haven't seen this many people there in the past, except for the funerals of King Charles III's grandfather and great-grandfather. Does this surprise you, the fact that people are just kind of 100 people in deep trying to get a glimpse of the Prince and Princess of Wales? Not everyone's going to be able to shake their hand. So why do you think so many people have flocked to this place?
I think because a lot of people want to do something, and not everybody is able to make it to London. I think the thought of the potential 30-hour queues has put a lot of people off. And I think actually people like the idea of being able to interact with the royals. You're right, there's thousands of people there. There's thousands of people in Manchester as well. I'm seeing those pictures too. As I'm talking to you, I'm kind of looking at two screens. There's thousands of people there too, greeting the Earl and Countess of Wessex, hugging them. You know, we can see the Princess of Wales here receiving these floral tributes. I think a lot of people feel that potentially by going to these other places, they will have as much of a chance to pay their respects and to interact with the royals. And I think that's what a lot of people want as well, to be able to see the royals, to be able to potentially shake hands, you know, take a picture, say thank you to them for coming to see them. I think a lot of people will find that really, really important and really, really comforting as well. And like I said, not everybody can make that journey to London, and not everybody wants to stand in a queue for that long, but they still want to be able to pay their respects, and this is their way of doing it.
And, you know, we've been reporting and interviewing people in London, and it's interesting how some people say, you know, the Queen served our country for 70 years. The least I could do is take a day out of my life to pay my respects, give my tributes, and say my final goodbye. People are saying that they feel this sense of duty, that they're compelled to be there. So, Afia, you know, as we're looking at these pictures of Prince William and Princess Kate greeting people, doing their royal duty, what happens over the next 4 days as the funeral preparations are being made? We know that the Royal Military, they're already having rehearsals.
Yes, I think what you're going to find is perhaps we're going to have more of these royal visits, and we'll have communiques about them that come out day by day. So as the Queen is lying in state in Westminster Hall, part of our focus will be there. But I actually think we will see the royals going out to more parts of the country, potentially going out to other parts of the United Kingdom. We know that tomorrow King Charles III and Camilla the Queen Consort are in Wales. They will visit the Welsh Parliament, and also there'll be a service of Thanksgiving there. So I think we will see more royal visits taking place probably up until Saturday, and then Sunday will be more of a time of reflection. At 8 o'clock UK time, there will be a moment's silence, and then of course you have the state funeral on Monday. Let's bear in mind that we also have the heads of state coming into town. They will start arriving probably Friday, Saturday. There's going to be a reception for them on Sunday evening, and another one for them after the funeral, hosted by James Cleverly, the new foreign minister. That will take place after the funeral on Monday afternoon. So you have that to contend with as well. I'm absolutely sure there will be some meetings taking place between some world leaders and Liz Truss, the brand new prime minister, as well. So we'll see that happening. But in terms of the royals, I think we can expect more visits to be happening over the next couple of days up until Sunday, and then things will really quieten down before Monday.
Okay, CTV News' royal commentator Afia Hagen, thanks again for joining us. Appreciate it.